AUA Centennial poster. Guess somebody on Wayland's refit crew was a patriot. My abuela said our great-grandfather hated the United Americas, an alliance of every nation in South, Central, and North America, plus most of the Caribbean. He prayed failed every night at dinner. Said it'd be the end of Cuba's own culture. I wonder if we'll even celebrate the centennial. News from the Corps says negotiations with the Three-World Empire are going well. I mean, there'll be treaties tying us together as the United Systems. Froggies ain't gonna like that. The UPP sees everything as a threat.
What did you find over there? Parliamentary solicitor. This has to be from the Three-World Empire. Whoever Wayland Yutani had running security on Katanga must have been lining up their next contract. The 3WE has a smaller military than they need. Every year, the Solar Parliament says they're going to expand recruitment. Every year, it gets tied up in committees. And every year, they end up paying twice as much for private military contractors from Wayland Yutani. They love bureaucracy over there. You blend the UK, Japan, and Europe, mix in technocrats from Titan and executives from Mars. About all they have in common is love of paperwork.
A corporate intelligence report. Recent border activity by the Union of Progressive Peoples, a subject of concern to commissars as well. The UPP has been a rival of the United Americas and our nominal allies in the Three-World Empire for much of the last century. There are frequent confrontations with the UPP's space operating forces. Things were more contained before the hiatus revolts of the 50s and 60s. Lack of attention to corporate abuses in the colonies drove many to embrace the UPP's anti-capitalist sentiments. To summarize the current balance of power, we enjoy the most robust industry. Our 3WE allies possess the finest technology, but the UPP has the largest population base. Most Marines refer to UPP forces as froggies. They often call us corporatists.
Holy crap, you scanned a GEOS datapad? I haven't seen one of those since I signed up. They're a local brand on Gateway Station. Tower 6, level 33. They'd acquire parts from big companies, closeouts, auctions, and assemble them into gear the megacorporations would charge twice as much for. Somebody on Wayland's staff must be my neighbor. I'm from Gateway, born and raised. It's the primary orbital port for the United Americas, built in 2030. We hold geosync over Quito, Ecuador, but we're an independent territory. 30,000 permanent residents, our own rep in the UA Assembly, and our own customs laws.
What'd you find? Colonial indenture contract. Oh, those are fun. From Seegson, dated 2175. So, look, people in the Corps want to move out to the colonies, right? Maybe there ain't jobs. Maybe they're dreamers. So they signed with a megacorp. The company pays for passage, then they work for X years. That's how people get stuck out here. Most end up in the Outer Rim. Places settled enough to vote, have schools and mail, and regular cargo and passenger shipping. Some get sent to the frontier. Everything between the Outer Rim and wherever the furthest surveyor is. Those are just outposts, rough and ugly, terraformers, mine shafts, and prefab shacks. These days, the Outer Rim's 100 light years from Earth, give or take. Last 20 years, the companies have set stakes farther and farther out.
Oh, thanks. I got distracted and left that out. I'll grab it later. Fulminium's a metamaterial, engineered in a lab for some specific combination of durability, friction, thermal tolerance, whatever. It's copyright and trademark of Armat battlefield systems, using their weapons along with a bunch of other materials, plastics, more conventional alloy powders. All that gets fed into Endeavor's fabricators. I load up a blueprint on the computer, press print, and in minutes you have a new weapon. Never fired, just for you. Nice, huh? For 200 years, the Corps has been trying to get our logistics to this point. Anything you want, I can make on demand for materials and bulk storage. Weapons, ammunition, maintenance parts, chow hall trays, anime figurines, whatever.
And all the shit Wayland Yutani makes. Aspen beer is about the only good thing. Wasn't always that way. Back 100 years plus, when Peter Wayland was still kicking the company, did terraforming and exploration. They invented synthetics. Future of humanity. Mierda. Building better worlds wasn't just something on coffee mugs. He actually meant that shit. After Wayland died, the managers took over. Every year the budget for shit that made lives better went down, and the budget for shit that kills went up. Why make a trillion in 2 decades when they can make $1 billion next quarter?
That headgear is traditional for Wayland Yutani interface pilots, going back to the deep-range exocolony missions a century ago. I'm going to assume the synth pilot wasn't wearing it. Personally, I wouldn't get near the cockpit of those things. Dropships can't maneuver for shit, but those Wayland shuttles are just fancy bricks. All you can do is aim them at the ground and hope the retros stop you before you bounce off. You know they weren't even designed for what they do? Sanriku Heavy Industries markets the D-Series light-duty interface craft as an SSTO with re-entry capability, but the original model was designed to work purely in Atmo, using ground effect. Did it stop them from selling it as a shuttle? Of course not. Sanriku is a division of Wayland Yutani, after all.
Somebody printed a Hyperdyne Systems weapon brochure. On paper. Hyperdyne's whole damn business is based on virtual sales. They don't manufacture anything. They sell licenses for fabrication blueprints and ballistic software. When you order, they send a bunch of files over Hyperpulse. You load them into your own fabricator and hit print. Look, I know Hyperdyne is technically the enemy. They design small arms for the Union of Progressive Peoples. But they know how to run a business. Few colonies in the Hyades had heavy industry, and they were short on freighters. But every outpost had general-purpose commercial fabricators. Hyperdyne knows where the wind's blowing. That's how they survived as a UPP state enterprise when other Hyades megacorps got nationalized.
You found an issue of Ion Seegson? Dang. The company hasn't published that for like 30 years. A century ago, Seegson was real big, one of the interstellar corporations. They put their money into deep space platforms, O'Neill colonies, asteroid refineries, you name it. Then Wayland Yutani made a bunch of breakthroughs in terraforming. Turning a planet habitable got a lot cheaper than assembling 1 million tons of orbital steel. By the 2140s, Seegson was on their way down. These days, they make cheap knockoffs of other people's stuff, like those working Josins. I heard in the 70s they tried to colonize some planets in the mid-rim. Wonder what happened with that.
You got a scan of Katanga's black box? Nice. Look at that thing. It's what, 80 years old? These big refineries were supposed to be the future. Park them in orbit, fill them up, then tow them home while it all gets processed en route. They were made to mine metallic asteroids. Let me scan the logs real quick. In the early 70s, Seegson refit Katanga to crack ice. They'd haul a berg into the top of Likasi Tower, and the works ground it down into water and byproducts. All that got piped over to Boshu Tower, the water got purified, and they split it into hydrogen and oxygen. You get life support and ship propellant. Huh. Entries stop in 2177. The last ones are about receiving evacuees and then some kind of exterior override. Weird.
I hope you did not ingest that. It is an internal lubricant used by synthetics like myself. Artificial people, if you prefer, or simply androids. We are designed to mimic human form and behavior, and can perform many tasks, often ones that humans find upsetting, unethical, or physically uncomfortable. In the previous century, there were cases where synthetics became unstable. The initial solution was to make our minds less complex. Since the 2160s, synthetics are constrained by hard-coded laws governing acceptable behavior towards humans. The colonial marines employ synthetics in various roles. The integer series are low-sapient combat models. Perhaps you've deployed with our platoons Alpha and Beta, high-functioning bishops and esters, operate support equipment, analyze scientific anomalies, and provide medical care. I have seen this headgear in your combat recordings. It is worn by Wayland Yutani's security synthetics. Human form androids are used for many applications, from administration to combat. Personal and corporate security are historically among the most popular fields. One of the earliest mass-produced security models was Wayland Yutani's Davis from the late 2130s. Security synthetics often possess limited and inflexible intellects. Strict adherence to orders makes them preferable for riot control and strike breaking. They cannot sympathize with those they are deployed against. Wayland Yutani used many security synthetics at Palace Station. Perhaps this was because xenomorphs do not perceive synthetics as a threat or potential host. Unless attacked, they ignore androids. That is a Seegson maintenance jack, a standard accessory included with each sale of Working Joe synthetics. The Working Joe was a class of low-sapient android popular last century. They were, if you will pardon my saying, an unsophisticated design. Synthetics from Wayland Yutani and Hyperdyne systems served the high-end market. Seegson Company had neither the technical nor industrial expertise to compete. Working Joes were assembled from inexpensive commercial electronics. In a time when disguised synthetics were misused to monitor or discipline human employees, Seegson marketed with the slogan, "You always know a Working Joe." Their crude appearance was a selling point among those fearful of synthetic infiltration. May I examine your scan of Cynthia's server hardware? She was a curious variation of the mother computer concept. Mother systems have existed since the early period of exocolonization. They are immobile, mainframe-based artificial intelligences that regulate all systems on a spacecraft. The premier example is Wayland Yutani's Mother series, which lent their name to all AIs of the type. Competing brands include Seegson's Apollo and Hyperdyne's Proxy. Compared to synthetics, mother systems are many times more intelligent and capable. However, they have rudimentary socialization programming. You would find them cold and uncommunicative, while a human crew travels in hypersleep. A ship's mother system works with a synthetic partner like myself to maintain the vessel.
General Vaughan, huh? She got added to the knowledge after the Frontier War. Hey, yo, we gotta remember our mistakes as much as our success. If we don't, the shit repeats. Vaughan was Assistant Commandant of the Corps. Nobody paid attention to how close she was with Wayland Yutani's board. She and a bunch of those cabals put their heads together, figuring on provoking a war between us and the Union of Progressive Peoples. Company wanted to make a bunch of money on defense contracts. Vaughan wanted herself a real war. Gloves off, no rules of engagement, real killer shit. Thought we was playing too nice. They almost made it happen. They dropped bioweapons on planets from both sides and framed the Op-4, even planned an attack on our own high command using a captured Progy ship. Yeah, I heard about that. Benoist Henderson Station was a fuel depot at Kappa Reticuli. Wayland Yutani says Hyperdyne mercenaries sabotaged it. Hyperdyne says one of Wayland's own bioweapons got loose. You figure that out. Either way, the depot blew up. 1,000 civilians died, food shipments got delayed for months. Shit like that, why they passed the Colonial Protection Act in '87. After the Frontier War, everybody wised up to how far the megacorps had gone. The further from Earth they moved, the more they figured they could ignore governments and act like them in their own selves. Hire private armies and send them at each other. The CPA authorized the expansion of the Corps. Now, we come out here, patrol, and make sure the companies are playing nice, following the law, paying their taxes, and leaving the little people out of their bosta.
I'm going to pass this to Esther for analysis. We have a lot to learn about Xenomorph XX-121's life cycle. Ovomorphs, eggs, and the facehuggers that hatch from them are easy to contain and study. Once the parasitic phase ends in a chest burster, it gets hard. Adult forms are hostile. Acid blood melts autopsy equipment. Studies are complicated by the DNA reflex. The host parasitized by a xenomorph changes the morphology and behavior of the adult form. Runner and prowler morphs breed from quadruped pack and herd animals, dogs, cattle. Drones and warriors, they come from humans. That's why civilians mistake them for the real form of Xenos. In reality, we've got no idea what the original form of Xenomorph XX-121 was. You scanned a xenomorph organ? Show me your data. Acid spray gland, relatively intact. I'll give this a good review later. Spitters are interesting. Most forms of xenomorph charge and attack with claws and striking teeth. These things deliberately keep their distance. They have claws and teeth, And they'll use them if you're stupid enough to get close. Mostly they spray acid, like terrestrial oog-peaster beetles or spitting cobras. I've seen reports of ranges up to 25 meters. I'm damn curious to know what these things breed out of. We've seen spitters before, but not often. And this head shape is unique. They must come from something native to LV-895. Marine, I heard you found damaged armor aboard Katanga. Huh. That didn't just get sprayed with acid. It got soaked in a puddle. Probably from the corpse of a burster. There's a rich history of poisonous critters on Earth. Dart frogs, rough-skinned newts, the blue-ringed octopus. If a predator takes a bite, they die. Xenobursters take you don't dare kill it to a new level. Subcutaneous, high-pressure acid bladders that burst on death. It's a perfect example of xenomorph survival strategy. Doesn't matter if an individual dies, so long as the hive continues. When a burster's killed, it harms the hive's enemies, so they charge in, suicidally close. This is a morph we haven't seen before. It must come out of some species native to LV-895. I can't wait to see what that is. Oof. Does that smell you, Marine? You must have run into xenoshedding. You get a scan? Look at that. Not from a chest burster. It's way too big. Has to be from a Praetorian. When a xenohive gets big, around 300 individuals, the queen secretes royal jelly. They feed it to adult drones, and it triggers a second stage metamorphosis. I don't think we know what that process looks like. Maybe they spin a cocoon. I'd love to know. Anyway, what comes out is a Praetorian. Nearly as large as a queen. Mean as hell. They've got a head plate that's nearly impenetrable. They use it as a shield and for ramming attacks. Praetorians guard the queen and the deepest levels of the nest. They don't leave often. Good data. But you might want to hit the showers.
You found that in the ruins? One of the Wayland Yutani team must have brought it. Guess they had a sense of irony. Elizabeth Shaw and Charlie Holloway disappeared on the Prometheus mission over a century ago. They were archaeologists who thought human development was influenced or directed by aliens from space. Real crackpot stuff, right? I mean, you have to wonder why Peter Wayland bankrolled their expedition. Anyways, after Prometheus disappeared, their academic papers were taken out of publication. They're a cautionary tale in my field. Wow. That's genuine alien technology. You can touch it. It's real. This is a helmet from one of the ruin builders, right? What did Wayland Yutani call them? Engineers. Okay. From the suits and the statues, we can tell the engineers were biped and humanoid. Hands with fingers. A head with sensory organs. A lot. Like Earth life. Very human. But 3 meters tall. Giants. Look at the interior of that helmet. It looks like blood vessels. Glands? That isn't mechanical. Not entirely. It's biotechnology. I wonder if all engineer equipment is like this.
The synths used a flute to start up the alien ship? A flute. Alright, fine. Makes as much sense as a 4,000-year-old ship with nerves and organs. I can't even tell what direction it's supposed to fly in. Maybe it doesn't matter. The public address was talking about paragravity drive. We have artificial gravity, right? Scale up that tech, perfect it. You can use it to counter gravity. Float over a planet like you're in 0G, or project a gravity well in front of your ship and just fall into it. If the engineers who made those ruins have that kind of technology, I don't know how we'd fight them. Say one of those shows up over Earth, loaded with pathogen. How do we fight something that could throw a singularity at us?
That's one of the jars pathogen comes in. You don't seem affected. I'll assume it was empty when you found it. In each one of those jars, there's 4 ampules of pathogen, packed in some kind of preservative slime. Or maybe it's for shock absorption. Just a drop of pathogen by injection or ingestion can cause mutations. There were signs it could be aerosolized and inhaled, too. You'd see effects in seconds. The Paula Station team didn't know where the company got it. It's crazy advanced genetic engineering, biological nanotechnology. Beyond anything they'd ever seen. Beyond theories, even. Now we know it came from those 4,000-year-old ruins. Which means whoever made those ruins probably made Pathogen. Ugh. I can't believe you found one of those intact. See the black veining? Yeah, that's distinctive to mutation caused by pathogen exposure. Yeah, I can't guess what this creature used to be. Maybe something native to LV-895, maybe one of the rats from Paula Station. Pathogen messes with the DNA in animal life forms, leaves plants and fungus alone. It's like it puts genetic code through a blender, and they come out enhanced physically, faster, stronger, more durable. The downside is mental development seems to atrophy or get reset. Mutants can problem solve, but a human we saw affected, it didn't recognize anyone. It just ate. Anything mutated by pathogen comes out pure aggression. Like they take survival of the fittest as a personal dare. Oh shit. Sorry, that's from one of the mutated Leon 895s. The things Herrera called stalkers. Leons were one of the species Paula Station tested pathogen on. Mark Pryor's pet project. They're native to LV-895. They're cats with chameleon skin and 6 legs. I guess that's hard to see in the mutants. 2 of the legs turn into stabby things, and their heads split into tentacles. Pathogen amps up the Leon's color-changing ability. The mutation allows them to show multiple colors, blend almost instantly. 2 pathogen Leons got loose on Paula Station. A lot of people died. Funny thing, I ended up killing them both. Seeing this, it still freaks me out.